Good afternoon, Windsor. I'm Jessie Bompiani, and this is the 30s newscast for Friday, April 10th. On today's show, we'll be talking to JD Tarpa in studio to discuss being recently elected as University of Windsor Student Association President and his future plans, as well as student exam preparation, University of Windsor's Aeronautics Leadership Program, and the Wu-Tang Clan. In weather, we will have a mix of sun and clouds today. The temperature will reach a high of 13 degrees and a low of 6. Chances of rain are at about 30%, but with only a possible 1 millimeter of rainfall throughout the day. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 11 degrees Celsius and a low of 2 degrees. Sunday will prove to be warmer with a high of 16 degrees and a low of 4. The UWSA general elections ended 2 weeks ago and not without a bit of controversy. Chief Returning Officer for the UWSA, April Adams, disqualified 4 students from their candidacies for violating 2 sections of the election policy. Section 80.04, stating that candidates may not affiliate with each other in the form of a team, party, loose coalition, or slate. And Section 90.02, stating candidates and campaign team members must allow members to vote without any undue pressure, influence, or coercion. Disqualified candidates include Mohammed El-Sheikh for UWSA VP Student Advocacy, Abdi for VP Finance, Farah El-Haj for VP Student Services, and Grace Boda for Student Senator. JD Tarpa is President-elect. The 30 reporter Darko Milenkovic sat down in studio for an interview with the incoming President Tarpa.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm here today with JD Tarpa, the WSA elected president for the new school year. How are you today, JD?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So we have just seen an election by the WSA where candidates were disqualified. How do you feel this will impact the WSA's reputation?
I think that it's a good way going forward to show that when UWSA is running a fair and free election, and when people do not follow the rules, they get disqualified. So it doesn't negatively impact the UWSA reputation. I think it's a more positive thing to show that we are a transparent organization.
And how was your campaign?
My campaign was clean, and I did a lot of work going out and talking to students, which is always amazing. So I think it was a really good campaign.
All right, thank you. What are your plans going forward with the new school year?
First and foremost, it's more about student involvement and getting students involved in shaping their experiences on campus, and also I ran on the platform of building school spirit, and that means getting the students involved and getting them to be able to stand outside and be proud to go to UWindsor, to change that culture. And instead of, like right now where it stands is a lot of students see UWindsor as a last resort. But we need to change that and change the culture and want people to be proud to be here, and encourage people to come here as well. And there are lots of things. I have already talked to the new executives, and I already talked to the new board. We had an informal sort of meeting, and we just bring ideas together because I want everybody involved, and I want us to use the UWSA and move together as a unit instead of separate people in the UWSA. I want us to move together as a unit to get things accomplished. Everybody involved, everybody on board with things, and students as well on board, because that's the heartbeat of the university, and that's the heartbeat of the UWSA. So that is the most important thing to me, and student representation for all student bodies, for all different pockets of the student body. For example, I'm an international student as well. I've been in residence as a resident student and as an RA, and there's a whole voice of people that feel like they are not represented, and I want this to be aired. I want to be their voice. I want the UWSA to be the voice of the students. So this is what we're trying to move forward to, and make the UWSA a better representative body for the students by the end of our term.
And what's the next step in making this into fruition?
The next step is to use the summer to prepare for students, use the people that are here, get them involved, and the people that are not here, that are coming back in the summer, when they come back, everything is in place to get people involved. Put in a system where people could bring their ideas and it would be listened to, because sometimes that's all it takes, listening to students and being able to try to accomplish what they want, and obviously bringing some new services and bringing trying to accomplish what we want to accomplish for the students, because that's what it's about. Student representation is key to the body.
All right. Do you have any concerns moving forward?
Not yet. I haven't gotten into office, but I just want everybody to be focused, and I don't want people being influenced by other people. I want, and I mentioned this to the board and to the executives, and I said that you owe no loyalty to anybody except the student body. So you are here to represent them, and the students voted you in, and you should be their voice and nobody else's voice. So your loyalty lies only with the student body, and I think that is something that is a message I'd like to get across to everybody that's on board.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
JD, do you have any final comments?
I think this is my first time in the 30, and I think it's a great experience for students. And I like to see it promoted more, because it just shows we have great stuff going on at University of Windsor, and this is an amazing studio, and students can get involved and get some experience. So I love the 30.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And that was JD Tarpa, the newly elected UWSA president, and we wish him a great term in the coming year. Back to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Darko. Final exams start this month for the University of Windsor and St. Clair College students. We know students hit the books to prepare, but some use instant pick-me-ups to help them concentrate. We sent out our journalist Sarah Lau to ask students if they use any substances to help them study.
First semester was a little harder studying. I would take like energy drinks, or I would go and get double-doubles frequently. But this semester I've kind of mediated a little better, and I've had tea when I can and coffee in the morning.
Especially for tests and exams and midterms, caffeine is like doubled right before the exam. So it helps me really concentrate.
At one point in time, I tried to use an energy drink because I thought it might help me like stay awake and stuff, but that did not help at all. It actually made it kind of worse. But like other than that, I've kind of avoided things like Adderall and stuff like that, just because like I don't really want to try and mess up on an exam, because maybe it won't work for me. I don't know.
I don't want to use any drugs like that. I don't think it's necessary. I think if you just try to study hard enough and you get enough sleep, you can still study the right amount that you need to.
Caffeine, Red Bull, cue cards as well, and Adderall. It was my first year at the U, and I took Adderall before I studied for an exam, maybe like two days before an exam, and then afterwards, after I took it, I studied, like I got a lot to studying done, and then afterwards just the very next day I just crashed, like basically like the whole day. I don't use Adderall anymore, but now I prefer to use just caffeine by itself. If Adderall works for others, then okay, fine, use it. Otherwise, caffeine should be good enough.
The Student Success Center shares some good study habits for students to use during the upcoming exam season.
One thing we do advise is to start early, and when you do start early, have a plan. So just don't write in your schedule that you want to study. You want to actually say what you're studying, what time, how long it's going to take, what you're going to do within that study period, review, maybe make flowcharts, tables, cue cards, that sort of thing. You always want to have a plan, and that way when you study, it's not going to be such a stressful process because you know what you have to do during that process. Always keep a healthy diet, and a healthy diet doesn't consist of a lot of sugar, caffeine, and medications. You want to have a clear mind and keep focus, and we can't do that when we're constantly taking medications or have a high caffeine intake throughout the day, so we should always keep up our nutrition when we're studying.
As the school year winds down, students turn their attention to finding summer work. But this year, positions for full-time students in the city are seemingly scarce. With more on that, here's Jess Kramer.
Between 60 and 70% of university students do not attend summer courses. Many of them use this time off to take on summer jobs for either working experience or to make some money. Services are available at the university for help on when, where, and how to apply.
So within career services, we've got a number of things, whether it's workshops or one-on-one appointments, our resume clinic's winding down, but we can help students with getting their resume ready, job search techniques, interview prep. We can also help them with career planning, so being strategic maybe in what to expect for a summer job and what kinds of skills you may want to get out of your summer job that would benefit you.
The city holds a job lottery every January that any student can apply for, where names are drawn at random for full-time summer positions with City Hall. Other student job opportunities include county farms, parks, and summer camps. Even so, job hunting is still a difficult task for students such as Stuart Evans, who has been unable to find employment in the city.
Because the transit system isn't all that great in Windsor, it's hard to get to where there are jobs, which is kind of like at the mall. So I had to kind of look for employment around here. I just think that there's so many people at once trying to find employment that there's just not enough positions available for everybody.
The city is unable to support the amount of jobs needed for every student, causing many of them to seek work at other cities, summer resorts, or out of province.
Like any region, you have to think about what the region has to offer and what comes seasonally. So tourist type or tourist related venues are always where you typically find more seasonal opportunities. Truthfully, a lot of jobs don't show up. So even things that we don't see necessarily as the obvious choices for summer, a lot of jobs don't show up online. When it comes to not summer specifically, but jobs in general, 70% of jobs probably won't show up online. It'll be who you know.
Jess Kramer, The 30 News.
There's a new program at the University of Windsor with 5 first-year students and 1 second-year student in it. The Aeronautics Leadership Program prepares students for flight with the academia background and the hands-on experience they need to fly. Nicole Van Rebes reports.
A new program at the university is experiencing success in the first year. The Aeronautics Leadership Program is ran here at the university with students traveling to the Windsor Airport for hands-on experience. Tamsin Bacon explains the various courses students are able to take.
Is a liberal arts degree with a leadership component. So students in this program will take courses in liberal arts. So that means pretty much anywhere on campus. They're taking courses in arts, humanities, social sciences, business, science, engineering, as well as doing their flight practicum.
Within the flight practicum, the students travel to the Windsor Airport and Journey Air 3 times a week for classes, simulator practice, and flight training. Second-year student TJ Brad explains what's included in the practicum side of the program.
It includes, from the first year I did my private license, so we did a ground school portion which teaches you the basics of everything you need to know before you actually get out in the airplane and fly, and then it also includes the actual flight training. So you do basic straight and level flight, you do cross-country flights, you learn all the ground briefings, and it's just an interesting mix of academia and actual practical skills that I'll be able to use when I graduate from here.
Flight instructor Sheridan Arthur is an employee of Journey Air and talks about her role with the students.
Students come in, some of them have little flying experience or no flying experience. Basically, I teach them how to fly the plane, so from absolutely nothing all the way up to the knowledge that they need to get their commercial license.
With the recent suicide downing on the Germanwings airplane, many airlines are looking deeper into the mental health of the pilots. Bacon explains how difficult it is to control.
All flight training, that's a requirement, and they're checking in on that, but it's something that I think even the major airlines don't have a huge handle on in terms of psychological testing.
Brad also says the program focuses on the leadership role, which is a huge asset in airlines and their hiring needs. He says this program gives a professional spin on flight training. The program prepares the students for the future. With both academic knowledge and hands-on experience, the students receive a well-rounded education. Nicole Van Rebes, The 30 News.
Through March 26th to the 29th, the University of Tours, France, hosted Model United Nations. Students from across the world came to debate and role-play delegates to the United Nations. Our reporter, Irina Schiller, was one of the many participants at this conference. Irina talked with Megan Andiri about her unique experience.
What is MUN?
The MUN
is an academic simulation of a UN conference, so that participants get to role play as delegates from country in a simulated session for a committee.
Were there any major highlights for this weekend?
Because our opening ceremony was held in the town hall in the city, and at the same time there was the prime minister doing a speech in the other room. He was basically just trying to reassure the people for the party of the Front National.
The theme this year was humanism and international relations. What were the issues/topics brought up?
This was a very vast theme that will always be a relevant topic, no matter what point in time you are in. Humanism and international relations is how we function with one another. We were talking about the global oil crisis and how it had accelerated because climate change. We didn't get to address the topic as much because there was a crisis team. Throw like situations and milestones in your way to see how you would deal with it. Doesn't matter how much background information you've researched prior to the conference, you have to act like in that moment. One of the situations we had was we had 9 million refugees from Africa because their lands were uninhabitable. The present day committee was dealing with ISIS, and then the future committee, they were just having a ball.
Moving on to sports, the Windsor Lancers football team is left with a gaping hole at the quarterback position after losing Austin Kennedy. 30 reporter Scott McEwen sat down with Casey Wright to talk about the upcoming season.
Windsor football has started their preparations for the 2015-2016 campaign, as they just wrapped up their 2-week spring camp last week. The Lancers are graduating 9 players from last season, one key player being quarterback Austin Kennedy. I sat down with Sault Ste. Marie native and third-year quarterback Casey Wright to talk about his expectations for next season and working his way into that starting spot.
Spring camp just wrapped up last week. How do you feel coming out of 2 weeks of practice?
It was good. Spring camp went well. For me personally, I thought I did pretty well. Offensively, looked really nice, and everyone's looking real well.
Obviously, there's questions about losing Austin Kennedy and who's going to be the quarterback. How confident are you with trying to solidify that starting spot and continuing that winning culture that the Lancers have had for the past 5 seasons?
Obviously with the past, Austin has cemented himself in quite a legacy with everyone, and a lot of the leaders who were losing this year were part of that. In the past 5 years, they pretty much put Windsor on the map. I'm really excited to get the opportunity to get into that spot and get in that spotlight and hopefully continue it on.
What was it like having a quarterback of Austin's caliber for the first 3 years that you've been here?
It was extremely helpful. Playing behind him, you see what it takes to be a leader. You see what he does in preparations for games. You see how he wins games, how he controls himself, how he controls his emotions in games, before, during, and after. Just the way he does that, the way he leads a team. And so it's been very helpful for me to see that and use that to better myself and better how I play.
Right. Now that the starting spot is open at quarterback, is there anything that you've done that you started to try and step into that leadership role?
Even when you come in as a young guy, being in a quarterback position, you kind of have to carry yourself like a leader, and it is hard when you're young. And so now, make sure you're involved in everything, inside and outside football. In workouts, you got to push yourself harder because everyone's watching you.
You've only had a few short weeks with the new OC and quarterback coach Dan Lumley, but what are your thoughts on him so far?
So far, things are really well.
Yeah.
I've gotten along with Coach Lumley really well. He's very players coach. He's easy to talk to, so good or bad, you come to the sideline, you can talk to him about the play. You can go over things, which is nice. It's easy to get along with someone like that, and it's easy to better yourself that way.
Obviously, there's the main goal for every team is Yates Cup, and then to the Vanier. But what's your main goal that you want to accomplish this year that you can aim for and reach and say I've accomplished everything I wanted to?
I think personally, I really want to use this season to cement myself as the starting quarterback here, to cement myself as the guy here, a leader of this team. And there's a lot of obviously scrutiny and hate around here and there from people, and I want to prove them wrong and prove to myself that I can compete in this league and I can do everything I can and I can win games.
Well, come August 30th, say you get that starting spot when they're playing Western. What's the thoughts going through Casey Wright's head as he steps into the huddle?
Excitement.
Yeah.
You know, excitement, obviously a lot of nerves, but just like, you know, it's been a while since I've started in a game, so I'm definitely pretty fired up for it. I've been waiting too long for it.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Case.
Thank you, Scott.
Now to Lauren for more on sports.
Thanks, Jesse. After the Lancers football team finished their spring training camp, all Lancers athletic seasons are completed until the next school year. To wrap up a successful year of sports, the Lancers held their annual Evening of Excellence banquet to celebrate Lancer Athletic Award winners. The banquet was held last week at the St. Clair Center for the Arts. Carissa Williams and Spencer Pommels brought home the Athlete of the Year awards. Austin Kennedy and Hannah Robson won the DeMarco Award for outstanding performances, both on-field and in the classroom. Dennis Farrell, the men's track and field coach, and Chantel Valet, the women's basketball coach, were each awarded the Gino Fracas Coach of the Year. The Rookies of the Year were handed to Kristen Lawrence and Angela Bortolin, with Super Sophomore Awards going to Cheyenne Roger and Brett Boersma. That's everything in Lancers sports for this year. See you again in the fall. Back to you, Jesse.
Thank you, Lauren. In entertainment news, after weeks of anticipation, Wu-Tang Clan's Windsor performance was a huge letdown for many in attendance. The 30's Lauren Hedges has that story.
On Sunday, March 29th, 3 members from the legendary hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan were scheduled to play at the Old Walkerville Theater. Fans packed the venue for what was supposed to be an early ending show, but were met with disappointment after disappointment. Tickets were advertised as $35 in advance or $45 at the door. Pre-sale tickets were clearly printed with adult general admission. Yet, when attendees entered the theater, they were told their tickets only gave them access to the balcony. Otherwise, they could pay $10 more to get onto the main floor. In an interview with Rawmind of the Expansion family, the 30 learned that even people who bought tickets directly from performers were being charged more at the door. And, despite being one of the few groups to actually sell tickets, Expansion family were not paid for their performance.
The show itself I thought was great. I mean, the acts that performed were entertaining. Expansion family was good. It was nice climax to when they were supposed to come on stage. Sadly, everything was nice and moving good. You could see the crowd was excited, and then just didn't happen. First, I could see maybe 30 minutes, right? I figured they had 30 minutes to get them there, which makes sense. They're at Caesars, maybe delayed. It's just a 10-minute cab ride or something, or car ride, whatever. However they're getting there, right? So people were tolerant for a little while, but then eventually they were like, well, are they coming or are they not coming? Like, what's the deal?
By 12:30, the venue had stopped serving alcohol, Wu-Tang had yet to show, and patrons were beginning to leave.
I left around, well, I didn't leave. I walked out for a cigarette when I realized Wu-Tang Clan was going to be delayed. So I figured go for a smoke, chill out, whatever. And then I guess the people I was standing beside were getting confrontational with the bouncer, and he eventually wouldn't let any of us back in. And around that time, the cops were showing up. There must have been about 6 cruisers right in front of the theater. There was a paddy wagon down the street. And then the cops were telling us that they're shutting the place down anyway. Y'all might as well go home. And around that time, I see a kid actually get dragged out from the doors by the cops. And they were arresting him at that moment. So that's when I left, when the cops started arresting people.
Around 1:30 a.m., Ghostface Killah, Jizza, and Capadonna did take the Walkerville stage, but only briefly.
You can't fool these motherfuckers because they know we don't already. So, you can't fool them. They know we the illest motherfucking group that ever came into hip-hop. So, when the sound is up, they don't look at us like we up. They looking at this place like, yo, the sound was up. So, yo, learn how to communicate with motherfuckers. Whatever your problem is, keep it right, keep it straight. Stop hating on motherfuckers. And now sound up. See, now it sounds clear now, right? Go home, right? Steak eating, burger, rib eating, motherfucker. Yo, we out of here, please. All right.
I had an interview set up with Joe from MDR Presents, the company responsible for booking the show. The day of our interview, I received a message from him that the majority owners of the show would like to handle media relations themselves. Emails and phone calls were never returned. Pushers Co., a local clothing store and show sponsor, sent out an email about the success of the show. Attempts to contact them for a statement went unanswered as well. Over the past 2 weeks, I have made an attempt to contact Windsor Police and the Walkerville Theatre with no success. Fans are disappointed with how the show played out, but there's no word yet on whether or not they can expect refunds on tickets. Lauren Hedges, The 30 News.
Tonight at Venue Music Hall, CJAM 99.1 FM will be holding the Jammies, their annual Listener's Choice Awards. The presentations begin at 9 p.m. and will be followed by a free performance from last year's favorite local band, Gypsy Chief Goliath. At the Dominion House in Windsor's West End, Toronto's 14-piece hip-hop brass band, My Son the Hurricane, will be playing with the Nephidovs. The Old Walkerville Theatre will be hosting the Bluestones advanced CD release for their new album, Black Holes. The album will only be available in a physical format at the Walkerville Theatre on April 10th, says singer-guitarist Tarek Jafar. We'll have a worldwide release at a later date, but when exactly hasn't been determined yet. Admission to this show is $10 in advance or $15 at the door. Thanks for joining us all semester for our bi-weekly newscast. For the 30 News, I'm Jessie Bompiani. Have a great day, Windsor.